English.
Welcome to the show, everybody.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen Cho.
And I'm Cameron Word.
Cameron, we're traveling today.
Yes, we are.
And this month we are exploring Greenland.
Yes.
Do you have any desire to go to Greenland?
I mean, if someone bought my plane ticket, I would go.
Okay. But you would not willingly on your own plan a trip?
I do think it would be really cool to go see like the glaciers that are up there.
Right. Nature.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I generally don't like cold.
Yes.
Is the thing.
Okay.
So, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that. What about you?
I would definitely go.
Yeah?
Yeah, Greenland, Iceland, all of those northern, countries in the north.
Yeah.
I definitely would like to go. Northern Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that Iceland has, like, volcanoes.
Yeah,
that would be cool to see.
Well, that would be. But you could go to Hawaii. It's much warmer there.
Good point.
Good point, right?
I don't know.
Okay.
If it's a free trip, I would go anywhere.
All right. So we're exploring Greenland this month. It's hard to believe this is the capital. So when something is hard to believe, it's like, what? You're surprised and you can't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because the capital is Nuuk. Nuuk. It's N-U-U-K, and it's pronounced Nuuk.
Mm-hmm.
And there are only 18,000 people in the capital.
That is not a lot.
Seoul has about 10 million right now.
Right.
Yeah. So, imagine.
Gosh,
right?
Yeah.
So that's why it's hard to believe this is the capital. And, of course, capital is Sudo. Right?
Yes.
So we're going to learn more about this capital, but first, let's look at some expressions. Contrast, right, means kind of the opposite or the difference.
Yes.
But if it's a stark, S-T-A-R-K, stark contrast, what does this mean?
Yeah, stark can have a few meanings, but here, stark is talking about a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
So it is an obvious difference between two different things.
Okay. How about if you take something into account? Take into account.
You are considering something. Maybe you're making a decision and you want to remember a certain fact or someone even when you're making that decision.
Okay. And finally, walking distance.
So this is a length that you can walk. And it'd be okay.
It's okay. You're not going to die.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, walking miles and miles.
Yeah, and it feels like a comfortable amount of walking.
Okay, very good to know.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see how these expressions are used in today's Power Dialogue. It's hard to believe this is the capital of Greenland. Nuuk is so small.
It's a stark contrast to any other capital city I've visited. With a population of around 18,000 people, it's barely a village where I'm from.
When you take into account the total population of Greenland is 57,000, it's almost a third of the country.
Let's see if we can find a restaurant.
Well, we know that everything is within walking distance to our hotel.
Very funny. Hey, there's the diner I read about in the guidebook.
Please join us on page 44. You can find our Power Dialogue there. Exploring Greenland. It's hard to believe this is the capital. Let's begin. Arya says, it's hard to believe this is the capital of Greenland. Nuuk is so small. Okay? And then Ezra says, it's a stark contrast to any other capital city I've visited. With a population of around 18,000 people, it's barely a village from where I'm from. Okay, so it's a stark contrast. Usually you're comparing two things.
Yes. So a contrast, when you're using it as a noun, means a difference.
A difference, yes.
Right? So stark here, S-T-A-R-K, means a large degree. So putting those together, a stark contrast is a big difference.
Right.
So Ezra's saying, capital cities around the world, they're usually quite big.
Big population.
Right.
Yeah.
But Nuuk is kind of small.
It is.
But Greenland in general doesn't have a lot of people.
Right. So population, of course, that's our power vocab today. And that's just 인구?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
okay.
it's the number of people living in a certain place.
Okay. So their population is around 18,000. Very small. And Ezra is saying, well, compared to where I'm from, it's like not even a village.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're from Los Angeles.
Yes, Los Angeles.
That's not even the capital of the United States.
No.
And it's huge.
It is. It's a very big suburban city.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you, however, Cameron, the town that you were raised in was a town.
Yeah. The town of Alma, Arkansas.
Alma, Arkansas.
Yeah. Had about 4,000 people when I lived there.
So that is definitely a town.
It was tiny. If you blinked, you could miss it on the road.
And in America, I find that in the middle of America, there are a lot of these towns.
Yeah. In the place where I was, the state of Arkansas, the capital, the largest city was 200,000 people.
Really?
Yeah, 20만 명 정도.
Oh, wow.
And we thought that was huge.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, look at you, Cameron.
So where I'm from, 18,000, that's a pretty good size.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Okay, but from where I'm from, where I was raised, that's like, a village. Nothing, right. So stark contrast is like a very big difference. Then what does Arya say?
When you take into account the total population of Greenland is 57,000, it's almost a third of the country.
So you have to look at the whole picture, the entire population of the country. So, and Arya says when you take into account the total population of Greenland is 57,000. So the population of Greenland, all of Greenland, is only 57,000, a third.
Yes.
Okay. So Nook is a third of that. Now, if you take into account something, what are you doing?
You're considering something. In this case, it's a fact. So when we first hear 18,000 for a capital city, we think, oh, that's tiny.
Yeah.
But when you consider, when you take into account that that's 1/3 of the population, you're like, oh, actually, that's kind of a lot. What is it? I think Seoul has 1/5 of Korea's population.
I'm not sure what the total population is. All I know is that it's about 10 million in Seoul.
Right.
Yeah.
And South Korea has a little bit over 50 million people, I believe.
Okay.
So...
Yeah, it's a fifth.
Right. It's a fifth of it. So, comparing the proportion...
Right.
Nook is a much bigger part of the population than even Seoul is to South Korea.
So if you take into account something, it means you're looking at something, but you gotta look at this. It's that feeling of like, you need to take into account as if, like, don't forget about this point.
It's not the only thing you're thinking about.
Yes.
But it is one of many things you are going to be thinking about.
Yeah, so when you are making a decision or when you are deciding to start a project, you need to take into account many things.
Yes.
Okay. So Ezra says, let's see if we can find a restaurant. Our power pattern today is, let's see if we can.
Yes.
Okay, how do we use this? Let's see if we can...
Right. It's like saying let's try for something you want to do, but you don't know if you'll be able to do it. Let's see if we can find a restaurant.
Okay.
You haven't researched in advance, but you're just going to try and find something.
Oh, okay.
Let's go out and see if there's a good restaurant.
Right. So it's kind of like you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have no idea, but you're kind of like, hey, we could find a restaurant and maybe we can't.
Yeah. Maybe the time is bad. They're closed.
Yeah.
It's break time.
Yeah.
Or something.
All right. So say for example, as another example, let's see if we can. Maybe you're having to go to a movie or something, and let's see if we can make it on time. You're not sure.
Yes.
But you're going to go anyway.
You're going to offer something or propose to do something, but you don't know if you can.
You don't know if you can.
Yeah.
We'll give you more examples in just a bit. Arya says, well, we know that everything is within walking distance to our hotel. This is very convenient. If things are walking distance from your hotel, where are the things?
They are easily accessible.
Yes.
On foot.
Yeah. You can walk.
You can walk.
Yeah.
So, for example, the EBS 사업, the EBS building, is in Ilsan.
Yeah.
I live in Seoul.
Yeah.
Technically, I could walk here. It would take many hours,
yeah.
but I could do it physically.
Mm.
But it's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
So we would not call that walkable distance.
That's right.
Maybe in Korea, like one subway station.
Yeah.
That's probably what we consider
distance.
Walkable distance.
Yes. In Los Angeles, I'm sorry, Cameron, there is no walking distance.
It's all highway.
People in LA do not like to walk.
No.
So nothing is walking distance. Okay, Ezra says, very funny. Hey, there's the diner I read about in the guidebook. So, because it's a small capital, they can walk everywhere.
Yeah.
To restaurant, to, museums and things like that. All right, let's go ahead and listen to that dialogue one more time.
It's hard to believe this is the capital of Greenland. Nuuk is so small.
It's a stark contrast to any other capital city I've visited. With a population of around 18,000 people, it's barely a village where I'm from.
When you take into account the total population of Greenland is 57,000, it's almost a third of the country.
Let's see if we can find a restaurant.
Well, we know that everything is within walking distance to our hotel.
Very funny. Hey, there's the diner I read about in the guidebook.
It's time for Power Note. Please join us on pages 46 and 47. A stark contrast is a very big, obvious difference between two things. Okay, Sandra and her boyfriend couldn't be more different.
Yeah, her cheerful personality was in stark contrast to his serious demeanor.
Okay, so comparing two people, Sandra and her boyfriend, okay, they're so different. Sandra's very cheerful, but her boyfriend is very serious.
Yeah.
It is a stark contrast.
Usually I find those work the best, though.
Yeah. If you have two cheerful people, that could be problematic.
Yeah, or two
serious.
Serious people.
Yeah. You gotta balance it out.
Yeah.
It's like plus and minus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the relationship, I don't know, gets too boring if they're serious.
Yeah.
Or too chaotic.
Too chaotic, right. So someone has to put on the brakes.
Someone has to say, okay, wait, let's be a little realistic.
Right. Someone says go, and then the other person, whoa, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe it doesn't have to be a stark contrast.
Yes.
Because that is like 0 and 100, right?
Yeah, that is true.
But
is true.
a little bit of a contrast.
Right, like a black, white, that's very stark.
Yeah.
Okay. The bustling city streets were in stark contrast to the peaceful countryside. So again, everyone, we want you to realize that the difference here is like completely different.
Yes.
Okay. That's why that word stark is so important.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So this can happen, like we said, in a city where it's like city, and then fields and cows, and just all of a sudden it turns into the countryside. Mm-hmm. That would be a stark contrast.
Yes. I remember using this phrase a lot in my essays. Because, in literature, you have to always analyze and compare and contrast. Mm-hmm, so it's like, this is a stark contrast from...
All the time.
All the time.
The character of Mercutio is in stark contrast to Romeo.
Yes, right. Exactly. Okay. Take into account. It means to consider before making a decision. So you have to think about this because this is one of the many things that you need to know before you make a decision. Okay, we need to take into account the weather before planning the picnic.
It's supposed to be sunny all weekend.
Yeah. So if you plan a picnic, there are many things to consider.
Yes.
But the weather, definitely you need to take into account.
Yes. Okay. It's not the only thing, though.
Yeah.
For example, things you need to take into account. What type of food you like.
Yes.
The weather, of course.
Who's going to bring who? What?
How heavy is the food?
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Sometimes that food is really heavy, and you start thinking, man, I should have just brought potato chips because it was really light.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you know.
But, you know.
There are several different things.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. The teacher took into account student feedback when designing the new lesson plan. Again, when you develop a new lesson plan, there are many things to do.
Yes.
But the teacher took into account the students' feedback.
Yes. It is not the only thing that the teacher did.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the student feedback was, I want to watch a movie.
Yeah.
Some
We
of
should
that-
watch more movies.
We should watch more movies. You can't always take that feedback, but maybe you're thinking, maybe I can find a way to make my lesson plan more interesting.
Right. Or maybe I can do like 2 movies per semester.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're also taking into account the tests they have to take at the end of the year.
Sure.
What the
Homework.
Yeah, the homework they need to have, the projects they're going to have to do.
That's right. So take into account to consider one of the many things that you need to think about before making a final decision.
Yes.
Okay. Walking distance is basically, can we walk there and not be completely exhausted?
Yes.
Okay? All right. I forgot to bring juice and soft drinks. Where can I get some?
The grocery store is within walking distance from my apartment.
So one time I went to a city for travel, and I got a hotel right in the heart of this certain area. And everything was walking distance. And I thought, wow, this is really great. I paid a little extra, but in the end, I think I saved some money.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I could walk around, not take taxis or subways.
That is the benefit of living in a city. Is there are many more things that are walking distance compared to if you live out in the countryside.
Yeah.
You have to drive.
The time, the gas, you have to think about all of those things. Okay, they chose a hotel within walking distance of the beach.
Isn't that great?
Oh, yeah.
You go on a beach vacation.
Sure.
Your hotel's right there.
Right. You know, the resorts can be very expensive.
Yes.
And so sometimes if it's walking distance and you don't mind walking, it's much more affordable to get a hotel right by the beach.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
When I was really young and had almost no money, but wanted to travel, it was just always the cheapest thing.
Right.
Even if it was 50 kilometers outside of the city. But now, you know, sometimes
a little bit closer.
Take into account the distance.
Walking distance.
Yeah.
All right, our power patter today is let's see if we can, which means we don't know, but hey, let's try. Let's see if we can fix the hole in the roof.
We might fail. Let's see if we can find someone to help us.
Okay, not sure if we can, but maybe. Our power vocab today is the word population. Do check out the definition on page 48. And also, stop by.
오디오 학당.
Very good. You can pay a small monthly fee and have access to a variety of programs here on EBS Radio. All right, thank you so much for studying with us, and see you later at 6 p.m. on Evening Special.
Bye-bye.